Hello and welcome back. In our last video, we installed Android Studio, got it up and running, and did some configurations. I did make one more configuration here, and I'm just going to show you really quick. So if I go to Configure and Settings, under Appearance and Behavior, I have adjusted to use a custom font with a size 14. So I upped the size of the interface of the layout. So hopefully we can see it a little bit better just in these videos. Maybe you're watching it on like a tablet or a phone. So I wanted to make it a little bit larger. And if you scroll down to Editor, in Editor under Font, I have upped the font size in the editor so the code appears larger. So if you want to change those font sizes as well, you can do that. So I've done that for you here. Now, in this video, we're going to dive into our first foray into the world of Android application development. This is pretty exciting, right? I'm pretty excited. Like all first experiences in any computer-related field, we're going to start off with a very simple Hello World application to get a feel for the Android Studio IDE, which, believe it or not, is already done for us as soon as we create a new project. So let's begin by opening up Android Studio here. You can see I'm currently running version 4.1.2 as of recording this video. In the future, you may be running a newer version. And with the newer version, there may be some changes to the UI, like so where I'm telling you to click or maybe the things that I'm referencing. But I assure you that the main content and knowledge of this course should carry as newer versions of Android Studio are going to be released. Okay, so let's create our project by selecting Create New Project. And when we do this, we're first presented with a variety of options. First, we can see that we can select our deployment target, so phones and tablets, wearable OS, Android TV, etc. So we're going to target solely on phones and tablets in this course. Next, we're presented with the option to choose a starting activity. An activity is a single focused thing that a user can do. So for example, you might have an activity that controls a preferences screen, or one that launches the camera roll, or one that is in charge of creating a database to store information. Every single app must have at least one activity as its entry point, or where the app will go when the user clicks the launch icon on their phone. Without that activity, there'd be no code to run, so we have to have at least one activity. Activities then have associated layout files with them. So the layout defines how the user is going to interact with the app or what the UI is going to look like. You can think of it like this. A single activity is a piece of functionality of the app, and the layout is how your user will then interact with that functionality. So you can see a lot of starting activities here. We have like an activity that's got some bottom navigation. We've got a login activity, a scrolling activity, something called fragment and view model. So lots of different choices, but for our course, we're always going to start with an empty activity because we don't want to just create apps, but rather we want to learn how to create apps. So I think we're going to get our best understanding by choosing this empty activity here. This way you leave the course with kind of what I hope is a firm understanding of all the Android concepts and principles that we encounter along the way. So I'm going to choose an empty activity. We'll click Next. And now what I have to do is I have to give our app a name. So I'm going to just call this Hello World. So if I just write Hello World here, it says the application name for most apps begins with an uppercase letter. So we should really try to follow that convention, right? So I'll say Hello World. The package name for our course, we can always leave alone. So we're going to keep that the same. And then I am going to set my save location here. So I have a default directory, My Udemy Course Android, where I'm saving all of my projects. I would suggest you do the same. And if you don't have your project name at the end of this directory, you should add it so it creates its own directory within this directory, right? So this whole project will be stored in the Hello World directory, which is stored in the My Udemy Course Android. Now we see our language options, Java or Kotlin. We want Kotlin. And lastly, we have to select our minimum SDK or minimum software development kit version. Essentially, which version of the Android software we want to target. So you typically want to target as many users as possible, right? So you may think, okay, let's target, if I click like Android 4.1 here, if I scroll down, it tells me that this is going to run on 99.8 of all devices. So that might be really great, right? This, however, has its disadvantages though, because if we choose to target this as our minimum SDK or minimum Android version, then we might miss out on having access to some features that became available in like Android 6.0 or Android 8.0. So if you look, right, if we select Android 8.0, now maybe we get some new features that we can use in our apps, but now our app's only going to run on 60.8% of devices if we choose to use those new features, because devices that are running like Android 4 or Android 5, they don't have access to those features. So really, this is like a trade-off. We have to sort of leverage the services and the features that we need to use with reaching the most target audience. So this is just a really simple Hello World app. I don't need anything special. So I don't know, I'll select Android API 19, which is Android 4.4. And I don't know, I'm just picking this arbitrarily, okay? So we're going to now, with everything set here, we'll select Finish, and we should begin to build our app. Okay, so now as the app is building, you may be prompted to update some files or install some extensions. Maybe you have like a Kotlin extension that you have to install. Go ahead and do that while the project builds. Really make sure everything is up to date. It's very important. So it looks like, okay, this thing called Gradle is doing something. It's building. We'll learn more about what that is momentarily. But it does sort of look like, okay, we've got like this project here. It's here, and we've got two files. So what are these two files? Well, this looks like it says main activity.kt. So this looks like it is our activity file, which is kind of cool because we said every app needs at least one activity. It is the entry point for our applications. So when the user clicks on our launch icon for Hello World, it's this code that is going to run. And then we also have something called an activity main.xml, which is currently loading. This XML is our layout file, essentially. And so this is the layout that is going to appear when the main activity code is run, right? Because this is just going to run some code. This isn't going to tell us what our app should look like. It's this layout file right here that's going to tell us what our app should look like. And here we have it. So and you can see right here it says Hello World. Quite nicely, it already says it, right? So perfect. And then note over here we have this project pane that I can click to open this up. If these files didn't open up for you, you can find them by clicking this project tab, opening up the app directory. Inside the Java folder and our first subdirectory, you have your main activity file. And inside the res folder or resources folder under layout, you have your layout file. So here are our two files here. This is great. I think this is a great place to stop. We've created our first project. In the next video, this continuation of the setup, what we'll do is we'll look at where we're going to test these apps, where we're going to deploy these apps. And so we have two options. We can deploy them to a virtual device or a physical device, and we'll look at how to do that in the upcoming videos. I'll see you then.